Good evening, football fans, and welcome to another night edition of the Big D podcast. Before I introduce my special guest, please subscribe, like, share, comment, maybe whisper on whatever your social media prowess is on the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. We've got a lot of content coming. Hopefully, it's not just all football. Hopefully, we've got some Olympic content. Hopefully, maybe a U.S. Open episode if all goes well next week. And, if you saw, what is it, the Memorial Day podcast where Stumpy and I were on it, and we went back and forth a couple of times, and I thought, be nice if he could join my podcast. Well, for one of my favorite cities, you in St. Louis?
Yes, I am.
One of my favorite cities in America, St. Louis. Here's the one and only Stumpy.
What's going on, man? What's going on, listeners? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for hopping on, Stumpy. Stumpy is a fantasy football nerd like me. Tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. So I guess in real life, I'm a chemical engineer. I work at a bioagricultural startup. So that's why I'm in St. Louis. But for fantasy football, I won Scott Fish Bowl 8 in 2018. I write now for Dynasty Nerds, and looking to start a podcast here soon with my friend Justin Toth, sorry. But been on many podcasts over the years. Probably most of you know me from Dynasty Diagnostic podcast, which may get back and going at some point too soon as well. And then I guess on Twitter you can find me at Stomp Bear Pig.
Stomp Bear Pig. I'm trying to think of like great Twitter handles like Stomp Bear Pig. You've got all three of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously for people who know you, you are not just big, a huge Denver Bronco fan. Yeah. So one problem for the Broncos has been your quarterback play, or maybe more so your lack of quarterback play.
Yeah. Since Peyton retired, it's kind of been a little bit rough. John Elway has just not been good at evaluating quarterbacks. We'll see with Drew Lock. I haven't written him off yet, but I mean, Paxton Lynch and Brock Osweiler turned into duds.
Yeah, let's just say
big duds. So yeah, like I said, I believe in Drew Lock. I think he has more arm talent than any of the starters since Peyton Manning. He has more arm talent than Peyton Manning did at that point in his career. And I think he needs consistency, which I think he's getting now, being in the same offense 2 years running with Pat Shurmur. He gets a full off season to work with his teammates and with the offense, which he didn't in COVID. And yeah, you're going to come at me here in a second. Just hold on a second. And his weapons are all a year older, a year closer to breakout. I mean, I think most of us think that Jerry Jeudy is going to have a good year because of who he was as a prospect, and he put up decent numbers last year. He just had issues with his hands, which I think are easily fixed. Courtland Sutton's back, and you should be wary of the knee issues and the hip issues, especially when you combine them. So we'll see what happens with Courtland Sutton. But yeah, sneakily, this Denver roster on paper, I think, is the best in the AFC West, which says a lot. Now, I didn't say that any one individual player is better than another. I just think the roster as a whole is the best in the AFC West. So if Drew Lock takes a step forward, or if, like the rumors that have been out there, Deshaun Watson lands in Denver or Aaron Rodgers lands in Denver, then they have a legitimate chance at winning the West.
Now, realistically, if you look at Denver's offense, I really like some of these young pieces. I mean, Garrett Bolles really played well last year. Pro Bowler, for once, I didn't see him really make any mistakes, no cheap.
I mean, take this for what you will. PFF graded him as the third highest tackle in the NFL last year.
I believe him, and that Hall of Fame offensive line coach sure helped.
Yeah, right. And that's another thing is it's a young offensive line. They had they added Graham. I always forget his whole name.
The center from the Lions.
Yeah. And they had Dalton Reisner in his starting in his first season. Lloyd Cushenberry was starting in his first season. So they're going to be a year older, again, a year in this new offense. I just think that all the things are there for them to progress. And even Drew Lock, I feel, should progress given a healthy season. Now, he had the shoulder issues after he got injured in the second game. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you like, oh, yeah, this is what it was. But to me, shoulder issues are going to linger. We've seen it with like Cam Newton. Cam Newton's shoulder issue lingered from the one season into last season, 2019 into 2020. So we'll see if given healthy and they stay away from injuries, they should be able to excel. And again, if they get a better quarterback, and I will fully admit that Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson are better for this team, but I still think they can be successful with Drew Lock.
Realistically, do you think the Broncos can trade for Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers without giving up half the roster? And B, if the Broncos got Watson and Aaron Rodgers, are they better than the Chiefs and Chargers and Raiders in the AFC West?
I mean, they have the cap room for it. So I think that's the most enticing part of this, is that they can take on a significant portion of salary. I believe they have something like 25 million available in cap. So they can take that on. I think they have some needs for either team. I'm sure they are willing to trade next year's first round pick for at least Aaron Rodgers. The thing with Deshaun Watson is it's like, I don't know what's happening. So does a civil suit necessarily put him in danger of missing games? I don't know, because I just don't know how the NFL handles those things. So I don't know if he's going to be necessarily, his value in terms of a trade would necessarily be as high as Rodgers. But I think that the Broncos have some young pieces. I've mentioned Bradley Chubb, that both of these teams could use. I mean, neither of the defenses are fully complete in either. I mean, especially in Houston, but including Green Bay. So maybe Patrick Surtain is part of that deal too, which this year's first round pick, which he's a luxury at this point because they have 3 starters already ahead of him. So yeah, I do think that they have the capital necessary. But I don't necessarily know if they think that Rodgers is really worth that when they have Drew Lock. And because there's not been anything to the contrary that I've heard since like many camps have started and stuff like that. So
now here's an interesting scenario. What if what if the Packers said, we don't want Bradley Chubb, but we really want Jerry Jeudy and 3 ones? Would Denver consider that trade?
I think so. I mean, just look at the success that Peyton had here, or had in Denver, and I think Rodgers is healthier than Peyton was at that point. He's coming off of an MVP season. So it's just, I guess for me as a GM, and obviously I don't know the room. I don't know necessarily the full consequences of what I'm doing, but you have Courtland Sutton, you have Tim Patrick, you have Noah Fant, you have KJ Hamler who could step into that slot role very easily. I just think for a shot at or a 2 or 3 year window with Aaron Rodgers to get maybe 1, maybe 2 Super Bowls, I think you have to take it.
And you know what? I'm just thinking, last time the Broncos went after a 30-something-year-old quarterback, they went to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them.
Yeah. So I think their roster now is to a point where they have a window right now, given the right circumstances at quarterback, whether that be Drew Lock stepping forward or whether that be trading for Watson or Rodgers.
Now, realistically, would Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson make Denver the favorite in the AFC West? Because Kansas City's 2-time defending conference champs. I really like the Charger roster. I mean, the Raiders are, the Raiders. You don't know what they are.
Yeah, Raiders just seem to be in a very long rebuild. They have all of these guys. It's just like they're missing pieces here or there. So I'm not concerned about the Raiders. The Chargers, it'll be interesting if they get better on defense.
They should if Derwin James stays healthy, right?
Right, and I mean Bosa's got to stay healthy, and is Melvin Ingram still there? I believe he came back on a 1-year deal, maybe. Oh no, he's still available. But if Melvin Ingram comes back, but I mean Chris Harris is getting a year older. They lost. I can't remember the other cornerback.
Casey Hayward.
Is that they lost who?
I think the Chargers released Casey Hayward.
Yes. So it'll be interesting. Like, and will Justin Herbert follow up a sensational rookie, record-breaking rookie season, or is it kind of that trope of second season or sophomore slumps because there's more tape on you? But they got better on the offensive line as well. So if they're protecting him like that, I don't see how he doesn't progress. It's the defense the key for the Chargers. I would say Mahomes is kind of defenseless. Like he can just win with bad defense anyway.
I mean, you might have the right defense called, and Pat Mahomes pulls one of those holy you-know-what moments, and whether it's the left-handed pass against you guys on Monday night or scrambling out of the throwing a 70-yard bomb to Cheetah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just – and he's going to have his moments, and that's why he's scary. Like, he could be having a horrendous game, but one throw can make or break the game with him. So it's just – but on the other hand, they got held in check in the Super Bowl by Tampa Bay. And I'm not – I mean, I still think Tampa Bay is the best defense in the league right now because it's proven. I still think that Washington right now probably has a better defense because they're proven as well. But I do think the Broncos have built a defense that will help them against the likes of Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes because they've built around the passing defense with the edge rushers and the signings and draft with the cornerbacks. And they brought back Justin Simmons on a record-breaking contract. So
now we switch from the Broncos to fantasy, and who are some players you like going into 2021 and some players you don't like?
I think my favorite player right now is Austin Eckler.
Ooh. Why Eckler?
Well, he has proven that he's the best running back on that team. And if not for a hamstring injury, I feel like he would have had a top 5 season last year. And he's not, I mean, he doesn't get injured. He before last season, he had missed 2 games in 3 seasons. So it's not like he's been constantly injured. He just had the hamstring last year, but he was on pace for the most yards rushing of his career. He was on pace for nearing 100 receptions again and nearly or 800 plus yards. He just didn't get the touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns total last season, which I would expect, and I know a lot of fantasy people are sick of hearing this, I would expect positive regression for Austin Eckler this season in terms of touchdowns, because his touchdown-to-touch ratio was just way off from most normal starting running backs. So his ADP is way low right now. It's in its 20s, and he's only 26 years old. Doesn't have a ton of mileage on his legs, so I really like him and think he can be a top 5 running back this season.
By the way, trivia question: what is Austin Eckler's career high in rushes, or single season high in rushes?
132.
I guarantee you've got that stat pulled up right now.
Yeah, I have his PFR page.
Yes, but I think he caught like 92 balls that year. Yeah, he caught 92 passes a couple years ago, so that can sway the total touch. Be honest, there are a couple guys I really like this year. 2 from the Rams and 2 from the Falcons. Can you guess who they are?
Robert Woods.
Nope.
Oh, come on. Bobby Woods.
Nope.
I know one is Cam Akers, but is the other one Cooper?
One is Cam Akers and the other one's Matt Stafford.
Okay, all right. I thought you were okay. I got you.
No, I wasn't pulling your string that much. I really think Stafford just getting out of that toxic situation Detroit will be more like Stafford we're used to seeing. And I think Cam Akers could be a top 7-8 running back this year.
I like that a lot. I think it was you that actually convinced really when we were talking about players we like. You mentioned Cam Akers, and I started looking at him a little bit more. It was like they should score more this year. Which means that they'll be in the red zone more, which means more touchdown opportunities for Cam Akers, and Henderson's not going to get the touches. Who else is there? Is Malcolm Brown still there? I don't think he is.
Oh gosh. But not Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown stealing my touchdowns. Oh yeah,
God. But so yeah, there's no reason to think that if Matt Stafford is protected, the Cam Akers and that entire offense is going to take a huge step forward and maybe have a shot in the NFC West.
And then 2 guys, speaking of opportunities, if you can draft Calvin Ridley in your fantasy league, I would do it early and often because he may lead the league in targets this year.
Yeah, he's got wide receiver 1 potential, definitely.
Am I crazy for saying this? I think Calvin Ridley could be a top 5 receiver this year.
I'm saying that he could be the top wide receiver this year.
Is that because Julio's in Nashville?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, think about it. That team's defense is terrible. They obviously wanted one more run at with Matt Ryan, which is just ridiculous. And they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. And now they have a fantastic, speedy wide receiver in Calvin Ridley, who is more complete than we ever thought. And Kyle Pitts is your other guy. I mean, sure, they have Russell Gage. Maybe they get another.
It's not Russell Gage.
But maybe they get another wide receiver. But I think you're looking at a very concentrated passing offense.
Yeah, it'll be Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, and then everyone else.
Yes.
I mean, Pitts might set the NFL rookie record for receiving yards for a tight end, and Ridley might get 125 balls. And you know what? Fantasy owners for not care. The Falcons go 3-14. But if Matt Ryan throws for 5,700 yards, Ridley gets 125 passes, and Pitts sets every tight end rookie record, no one will give a bleep.
Right. Well, and we used to say this when Jameis was in Tampa. It was like he just creates his own garbage time. So they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. And he's perfect for fantasy because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going to get a ton of targets. Now the difference is that we were always concerned that Jameis was going to get benched. You're not going to be concerned about that with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is going to be starting regardless and probably just trying to break records. So they're going to be chucking the ball a lot.
Yeah. So who's one player? Who are some guys you don't like this year?
This is tough for me because I haven't looked at ADP or anything. I mean, usually I don't love rookie wide receivers, so like I'm probably not going to be taking Jamar Chase as early as I would need to. I understand the hype surrounding Kyle Pitts, but it hasn't happened. I mean, it happens so rarely that you get breakouts in season 1 for tight ends and we always get those rookie tight ends coming in that are elite athletes and super producers that flop in their first season. I don't know if he'll flop, but I think it will be an Evan Ingram-esque type of thing, and hopefully he can build on it, you know. So I'm not in love with taking Kyle Pitts where he's at right now. I just think there are a lot better options later. I mean, TJ Hawkinson's going way after Kyle Pitts right now, and I'd rather have TJ Hawkinson. So.
Wait a minute. I'm going to challenge you on that. By the way, I agree with you on Jamar Chase. I am a little worried that he hasn't played football in 2 years. I don't care how fast you run. In shorts and a t-shirt. John Ross ran the fastest 40 I've ever seen, and he still couldn't catch a cold in Denver.
No, in Cincinnati, not in Denver.
Oh, Cincinnati, whatever. I want to.
But yeah, I mean, you see it every year, though. I mean, Laviska Shenault was hyped, and he was not. He was fine last year, but it wasn't like met expectations, and he's going.
Well, look, I will be honest. Being a Jags fan, I like what Shenault brought. The problem was we didn't have Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball.
Right. And here's another example, another Jag example. I mean, DJ Shark didn't do anything his rookie year and took a massive second-year leap. So I think wasn't DJ Shark this second wide receiver off the board that year?
Oh, what year?
After N'Keal Harry?
2020.
I think it was 2018.
Yeah. Was that the year? Oh, gosh. Let me see. I've got wide receiver, No, that was the DJ Moore draft. That
Courtland
was
Sutton,
DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley.
Dante Pettis.
That was 2018 was the
Okay, he went in the second round. Regardless, it was one of those things where a lot of people thought it was he was a bust in year one, but he broke out in year two, and that just happens every year because the NFL is just a different animal altogether for these guys. So they have their year one hiccups. So it's just one of those things where, especially the pass catchers, the wide receivers and tight ends, I just don't recommend taking them as I get it's dynasty, but I've seen so many instances where those guys values drop into year two because they didn't produce, and you can trade for them and they'll produce year two or year three.
Yeah, I think Chalk caught 14 passes in 2018.
Courtland Sutton's another one. Courtland Sutton had a hit and miss rookie season, and then had garbage QBs all season in 2019 and still produced monster numbers. So
could part of the problem not just be the longer season, but the fact that the NFL is so much faster and you're not used to facing all these exotic defenses that Bill Belichick, and some of these Pete Carroll, Mike Tomlin, who's Brian Flores, who's the Sean McDermott, who's the Ron Rivera can bring at you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the longer season, but it's more difficult playbooks, longer playbooks that you have to memorize. You have a chemistry that you build with the quarterbacks that's going to be something you're going to have to work on. And you're right. I mean, and I have to believe it's just rookie season in general is hard on these guys because these are the best football players in the world that you're going against. It's like for the SEC facing Alabama, literally every game. So yeah, you're going to get harder. You're going to be more tired because you're going to have to fight more. And that's why rookie wide receivers and tight ends, regardless if I miss on them, usually I can get guys I want, like Laviska Shenault, far later than I can get Jamar Chase. But I got you can get Laviska Shenault later than you would have gotten him in his rookie season.
And also, you look at it, wide receiver is a position where you can get guys way late in draft. I mean, you can get the 40th wide receiver producing for your fantasy team. You can't get, how many decent running backs are there in fantasy? Maybe 10, 12?
Yeah, there's definitely a cliff that you stop trusting guys to be the consistent producers at running back. With wide receiver, you're right. Like, wide receivers kind of all over the place in terms of you can get guys that maybe get 2 targets, like a Deshaun Jackson type of day where you get 90 plus yards on 2 targets and you get 2 touchdowns kind of. And it's just, that's why I like wide receivers more in best ball type of fantasy, because guys like Deshaun Jackson or Marvin Jones or John Brown can put up those monster weeks and can win you weeks, and you don't need them any other time.
Throw in John Ross, and you can make a few pennies.
Well, if John Ross wants to stay on the field, maybe. Of course, I don't even know if he's going to make the field in New York.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. He's with the Giants now? Oh gosh. They
just picked up Kadarius Toney, who is John Ross light.
I'm just thinking, like, the Giants almost have got too much talent in offense. They've got Toney, Slayton,
Kenny
Galladay, Evan Ingram,
Shepard.
Oh yeah, and wait a minute, I'm forgetting somebody.
Saquon
Barkley.
Quadzilla himself.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. We'll find out if Daniel Jones can play this year. If he doesn't play, well, New York's going to be.
Man, all he's going to have to do is just and he's going to have to play it this way because they don't have anybody blocking for him. He's just going to have to play 500. You ever play 500 back in the day with the football? That's all he has to do. Have 5 wide receivers and 1 tight end out there and just chuck it straight up in the air and see what happens.
How about just play with 9 wide receivers and take one in the backfield?
There you go.
We're gonna recreate a rule that says that the Giants can play with 9 wide receivers, 9 pass catchers, and Saquon.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in Denver with the Watson Rodgers saga and then these fantasy football dilemmas. So thanks for hopping on. Thanks for hopping on the podcast with me, and we hope the Broncos can figure out their quarterback situation.
Oh, I do too, man. I really have my fingers crossed for Locke, but really, if we could get Rodgers in here, I would feel a lot better.
I was just thinking, like, will you get a quarterback before you get the name of your stadium?
Probably not.
I think it's now Broncos Stadium because
No, they've actually got a sponsor for it. I just can't remember what it's called now.
it's not sponsored the way they feel now. What?
Empower Field.
No, I think it's like Broncos Stadium because I watched the Nation League final at the Broncos Stadium. It was just
they sold the rights to name the name to it's called Empower Field at Mile High.
Okay, so I need to get my stadium names updated. So
Yeah.
thank you for hopping on, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.